What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Grit. And I've got my friend Hayden Larance in the studio today, and I'm super excited. You all know how I love the update episodes and having guests back on. Well, I had Hayden on back in August, and that's how much of a blur Hayden had to remind me what date it was. I'm like, I know it was warm, but we were connected from Andrew Black, and I love giving Andrew shout outs because he's an amazing guy. He's been on the episode as well. So check out his episode if you haven't seen it. But Hayden came here in the studio and we were just having a conversation, and I was energized and lit up. We had a quick networking meeting that we jumped on. I was like, hey, would you want to film a podcast? And so we did this impromptu episode that I absolutely loved. It was great energy. It's again, sitting down with Hayden and talking about how he's building out his business and taking that leap of faith and going from really thinking he's a bad student or not really understanding what his purpose is in life, or going through sales and being like, I'm good at it, but it's not really lighting me up, and then falling in love with the entrepreneur journey. And we talked about that a lot in the last episode. I got to catch up with Hayden last Friday. He came back in town. For those of you who don't remember, and I know we're going to talk about it a little bit here, he was out in Central America while he was building his business, and so he was back in town. We got and met up for coffee. And man, it's just the energy, the enthusiasm. I love sitting down and talking to Hayden, but watching and seeing the difference he's made in his business since August, since we last sit down, how much it's grown, and just even the tribulations that he's had to go through that period of time. Super excited to bring that back to you guys because, again, stories are data with soul. And when you can sit and listen to the journey, these things are possible, but you got to put the work in. And it's not always easy. So without further ado, Hayden, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me again. I appreciate it. It's
my absolute pleasure.
Back.
My absolute pleasure, man. Again, I left up like this is it was really awesome sitting down and catching up and hearing what you're up to.
Yeah, no, it was great to be able to connect again. And I mean, like I said, just back in town, and then the first thing was on my mind was just being able to reconnect with you and talk more, from like you talked about last summer. It feels like it's been, years since then, but yeah, just being able to kind of come back together, talk about, what it was like, what we're kind of both doing now, and just update on the crazy life journey here is awesome. So thank you for having me back.
Oh, my pleasure again. So tell me what happened since we last met.
Yeah, so we did, I believe I was on in August, right? So yeah, that was when, I had, probably had about 5 or 6 months then of experience. And yeah, I was honestly in a position where, it was kind of the seed of my business, and had some clients, but it wasn't there yet in terms of, honestly being able to, pay rent, just do all the sorts of living expenses in the US. So, I was kind of from that point committed to just going all in with everything that I was doing. And, like I said, in terms of cost of living in the US, I just decided to go down to Central America for the fall and basically not come back until I felt like I had, I don't say, not that you ever figure it out, but in terms of a money standpoint and just kind of maybe general like structure of the business to where I feel like I have more things in place. And yeah, it was a crazy experience, but it's grown since then. So
one of the crazy things is, and you go down, you don't know anybody in Central America. I'm thinking, and I know that we talked and you had this thought that you're just running to people and make friends. I'm that person, like I'll make friends anywhere.
Right.
But then like what happens when you go down there?
Well, so I thought I was going to go, I decided to go to Costa Rica because I was like, I heard a lot about it. And, I thought it was going to be, building the business, going to the beach and meeting a bunch of cool people. But I didn't realize that that the fall in Costa Rica is like the rainy season and it's the slow season. So I got there and there was nobody there. It was like literally empty streets. I was kind of walking around the first day or two, like, what did I just decide to do? And on top of that, it's a lot more expensive than I had thought. But yeah, I just had a small little apartment kind of right there, and there really wasn't anybody around. So, it was just kind of a harsh reality of like, I got to figure this out. I don't know exactly how that's going to happen, but I'm not leaving here until I do. So I wouldn't say that's, and I've talked to some other guys about this. I wouldn't say that's the best, way to go, like mental health wise. But I think that I needed to do that and go through it and kind of just, isolate myself and get really clear goals wise in terms of growth. And then, yeah, just kind of grinding every day.
Well, it's so cool, and there's not many people that can sit and sit in their own thoughts,
Right.
and without being antsy or trying to fill it with something. And
Yeah.
I think that's a really healthy thing to do, and it has a lot of probably emotions and effects to it. But I think that's a really healthy thing to
Yeah.
be able to sit in yourself. And again, what kind of clarity you get out of that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, that's, I just pretty clearly remember every single day. It was just, tough waking up and not feeling like I had it together. And it was honestly some of the hardest emotional times of my life, I would say. But I pretty quickly started to realize that, regardless of how I felt, getting up, getting into it, as long as I, had the things laid out that day that I needed to do and just completed them, I would feel better at the end of the day. So I just started getting into this rhythm of like, okay, I don't feel great. I'm going to go ahead and do the thing anyway. And then inevitably, after doing it, by the end of the day, I feel, maybe nothing has even felt like it's moving forward, but at least I went and did the things that I said I was going to do.
It's like that consistency of doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's I mean, and that's the one thing that I've realized in all of this. And I mean, in terms of, I'm coming from more the online business type space, but I think it's got to be the same anywhere. It's just, showing up and doing the things that you don't want to do, because that, most often that's what you need to do. And for me, it was making cold calls, which isn't fun, obviously, like we talked about the other day. It sucks,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Nobody loves to call people and get rejected all day. But doing that, and just kind of starting to get ruthless on myself of like, I can't let myself get to the end of the day without doing it. And then from there, I started to see progress and kind of just this little feedback loop of like, all right, do the thing, get the result, and just keep going forward.
What I love about that is like you talked about making cold calls and how that's difficult, and that's difficult for people that get to go home or they're hanging out with
Yeah.
their friends or something else
Yeah.
afterwards. You have something that you're doing afterwards, but then you're like you're there by yourself.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was extremely, that's probably honestly one of the harder parts about it. It's like, it's not like I was just working remotely and kind of got to talk to all these people all day. It was like, no, I was by myself, and then had, people on the other end of the phone telling me to jump off a bridge or whatever else. And it was tough. It was really hard, and honestly, I get, emotional sometimes talking about it. But yeah, it was like foundational for me in terms of just realizing, input output, right? Like, just, you have to be doing the inputs all day. Like, I can't just be sitting there thinking about what's wrong or what, that I need to get lucky. It's like, just start doing the work. Start doing the work. So
What kept you there through that?
I think it's like we talked about the other day. It's just what my why is. Um I was like, I mean, like we talked about a couple months ago, I was working a job where, I graduated college, had no idea what I was going to do, got a job, and I just did not like it. It was just not my thing. It was I just knew like there has to be some other way to do this and to live. And kind of constantly hearing the, especially after school, like, what are you going to do? Well, that was the best 4 years of your life. It's all, downhill from here. That sort of sentiment from different people. And it's like, I just don't believe that. I don't believe that that's it. And so I think it was waking up every day, honestly, just, you know, without, sugarcoating anything. It's just like, what's the alternative, right? Like, I'm either going to figure this out or, go do something else that I don't want to. So I got to figure it out.
I was coming home and I was explaining to my wife like what your journey and like what you were doing, and it's like how many people get to like 60 and be like, I wish I would have did that thing.
Yeah.
Like there's so many people that may have had the thought, oh, I'm going to start a business or I'm going to go to another country.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a business and move to another country. And then they just don't do it. Or they go and it's a little bit hard and they come back. And there's always
Right.
those what ifs.
No, and that's how I've always felt, like that. I've always felt like, I remember, kind of like we were saying before this, of like, the what would your 80-year-old self think? It's just I just can't get to the end of my life and regret things, and I just have to go for it, right? It's like you see all these guys that, regardless of what you think about super successful people and entrepreneurs and, people that are in the media that we all know. It's like, these people have gone for something and achieved goals that they set out to do, and didn't listen to anybody along the way, or like the little comments of, has that thing gotten off the ground yet, or all this other stuff of like, I can't remember. It's the owner of the Utah Jazz. They own Qualtrics, like the survey company, but he has this big quote in his home. I watched some little interview with him, but it's like, tune out the noise and play the long game, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't worry about what anybody else is saying. Don't listen to anybody else. You know what you're doing, and just, have the long-term vision and make it happen. So,
And you look at those, like, I've seen Gary Vee so many times talk about how
oh
people
yeah.
like ridiculed him and made fun of him and like all this stuff. And, you just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even like, this might be a funny example, especially for some people, but I was listening to a sales trainer talk about Cole Gordon. He's like a popular sales trainer, and he talks about how in college they used to see Logan Paul. Logan Paul would be walking around campus like filming himself, and they always would like, make negative comments about him of like, oh, they thought he was a loser and all this other stuff, and it's like,
Now look at the
yeah,
guy.
look at it now. Like, I mean, what has, for him, I mean, regardless of what you think about the guy, like being able to not care about what other people think and just keep doing the thing, and what has it brought you?
Have you seen the Mr. Beast video where he did the 10-year video, like the 10-year?
I have, yeah,
Isn't that incredible? Like he
it
wanted a
is.
million subscribers.
It's insane.
In
It's like the biggest channel on the internet, breaks the internet with every video that's coming out.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's that kind of mentality though that I think you need. It's like when we talk about, you and I have had conversations about like, you're talking about, you just knew that there was more. You knew that there was like
Yep.
wake up of like wanting to go back to bed, or, not wanting to get out of bed. It's like that's not how you want to live. You want to be excited to get up and do the things that you're going to do and go work on what you're going to. It's not, obviously, regardless of what you're doing, it's not always going to be fun, but I mean, just, being excited to be alive.
It really it's what's the word I could say? It it's freedom. And
Yeah.
like when you're defining success, and and money is like a big part of it, but when you can wake up and love doing the thing that you're doing, and
Yeah.
you created that thing, and again, there things that we don't love to do. Absolutely. Are there hard things? There's cold calls, and there's all these things that we have to do in order to get to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's just being able to wake up. You get to go work on, like, I mean, kind of like we talked about last time. I know we're both, working hard on our own stuff. I'm working more hours and longer than I ever have in my life on anything,
Yeah.
but I'm also, getting up early and excited. I'm excited to go impact more businesses, or to go help more people that are getting into business. It's like those things are just so exciting that it's not like the, you know, find something you love and you'll never work. Like, I'm not even saying that. It's more so just like this stuff is exciting. It's cool to be building, and there's just endless possibility, which that keeps me up at night personally.
So where did as you're putting together and you're doing the work and you're making the cold calls, where did you start to see like some traction or movement or breakthrough?
Yeah, so I started the first time I saw real improvement was, and I know this will, vary depending on the type of business, like whoever's listening, but at least for me in terms of just client acquisition, right? It was when I was down there and just putting in, maybe I would call 10 or 15 people a day and feel like I was doing something. And then I finally was just like so tired of telling myself that I would do something, and just consistently lying to myself day after day and not putting in the work, that I was like, I'm going to do 100 cold calls for the next 30 days, no matter what, right? Except for Sunday. And every single day, I started on the platform we're talking about, school, where I started posting every single day what my numbers were. So like, this is exactly what I did, just to make sure that even though maybe that, not that many people were even seeing me, it was like, I'm accountable to myself, to somebody else, where I'm going to put this in there every single day and I'm not going to miss a day. And, after 30 days, it was literally just, I was talking to more people. I was getting better at overcoming objections. I was just having more conversations to where, it felt like maybe something wouldn't come together, and all of a sudden, I'd get 3 new clients in one day because things just felt like they started to line up, but it was only coming from just doing the work, right? Like just trying to push the train out of the station.
I see so many people that won't go do the things. And you talk about like being that 60, 70, 80 years old and you have this life of regret and resentment because you didn't do the things. And people want this certainty of it's going to work out and that kind of thing. And that effort and that consistency, like putting that in, that's what really works.
Right.
Like it comes back.
Right. Yeah. I don't know about you, but just like starting your own business, I think everybody maybe looks for the shortcut or
Yes.
the thing that's going to be easy. And then I think that the best thing to realize is that it's not. Like there is no, there's no easy way.
Yep.
You have to put in the inputs and you have to do the work. Otherwise, you're just going to keep wondering.
So true. So you start doing the videos and you're filming that. How's that going?
It's going well. I've been just documenting the process, and honestly, it's been probably more fulfilling than anything because whether that's putting things out on Instagram or YouTube, of just trying to show the reality of what this looks like. I think maybe like a lot of guys that start a business or what you see on the internet. You just think you're going to start a business and then a Lamborghini will spawn next to you.
Yep.
And you're going to a bunch of parties and stuff. And like, I just wanted to show what it was actually like for me. So to document the whole journey of whatever I achieve, like I want somebody to be able to look at that, mainly myself, and just say, okay, I did the thing, I documented along the way, but more importantly, somebody else that's getting into this, I can actually help them. And just from that, it's been so cool, like getting messages from guys that are, maybe they don't like their current job, or they're not happy with what they're doing, and they're scared to start, and just being able to getting their own client or starting their own business. And it's just, I don't know a better feeling, honestly.
It's we talked about this the other day, and I call it empowering the empowerers. And it's like I have to really watch because like it's also making sure you're taking care of yourself from a standpoint, because you can get so like excited about everything that's happening for all your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I mean, even now, just from the start, I just started this community. I'm like, it's completely for free. I'm not selling you anything. I just want to show you what it's like to build a business. And then I started having a weekly call every week where we could all hop on, share strategies, talk more about it, and just seeing people come from all over the country and the world, just everybody like being in the trenches and just trying to figure it out together. It was so cool. I think that would honestly be, other than just finally, doing the things that needed to be done, was just being able to connect with other people that were along the way has been so huge for me. Cause it's so, I mean, like we've talked about it can be a very lonely thing when, you're trying to get something off the ground, especially, or even now, when things go wrong, it's like, it's your business, you're by yourself, you're experiencing it alone, or, maybe you have a partner or whatever else, but, you kind of have to go through this thing alone in a way. So being able to feel like some sense of camaraderie and share that with other people has been huge.
My favorite part about starting the business, one of my favorite parts, because freedom and all that kind of stuff, but the relationships.
Oh yeah.
The relationship with you, all the relationships that have come along, and being able to use the podcast for that standpoint of like when I'm having a really cool conversation with somebody, I can then extend that relationship because I have something that I can pull in and continue to build that relationship where it's giving us both value. You know what I mean? But I always say, people, when we say it's lonely at the top, we're not doing it right, because there are so many people we're looking at. Especially if we grew up, I didn't grow up with business owner family members or people that thought like this. They think, my mom, me and my brother both own businesses, and my mom is like, that sounds risky. Why wouldn't you just keep your job? Like I've had a conversation with my mom recently where she's like, I just don't know why you guys didn't just keep your jobs. Like,
you're like, come on.
What? Why? But they just don't get it. And it's nothing against them, but they don't get it. But then there are the people that do, or the ones that, the ones that are going through the grind. And then sometimes we think as business owners, we're going through unique challenges. And I had a guest, Mike Groovy, on, who's an amazing consultant. And he talked about how he was like, when I went to my first like business owners AA meeting, you know, it was like,
Right.
you know, like I'm, you know, an entrepreneur and I'm going through these unique challenges. And then somebody's like, that
Yeah.
happened to me like 5 years ago. Like
Yeah.
I get way worse problems than that now. You know, like we've all going through these challenges, and we also are in a unique set where most people don't get us.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't think, I mean, and that's the awesome thing now is I don't feel like I need to be understood. Like
Yeah.
maybe at one point I wanted people to be, along for the ride, but now it's like I'm doing this, I'm doing this for personal growth to be able to help other people. I don't care what anybody else says, and that it's so, and again, like
That's
I feel
rewarding.
like I'm nowhere near where I want to go, but at least being able to kind of like we talked about, just proud of where you've gotten to so far, and but that was the hardest part of the beginning of like you have this thing that that you can do, but I mean, you can't expect, whether people say that they support you and, they kind of give you the little hurrah. I think
Yeah.
the biggest thing that I found that helped me on that was Chris Williamson, who he's the host of the Modern Wisdom podcast, and Alex Hormozy, who's another kind of business guy. They were on there talking about the lonely chapter. And it's like the space in between where you've started this thing, you've started this business, so now you're different from everybody that isn't doing that or maybe doesn't understand it. Kind of like your mom saying, why don't you just keep your job, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you're not yet to where you don't have maybe the necessary connections of people that have made it yet, or they're further ahead of you in the journey. So you're kind of in this weird space in between, and it was extremely hard for me, and still is on a daily basis, to just you know at least at the beginning, without feeling any traction yet,
Yeah.
just continuing to get up and move forward. So
And that's why I'm like, kudos to you for being out alone, being in a place where you're not around anybody. To continue doing that is so incredibly, like, that's inspiring in itself. So
yeah, no, I appreciate it. And that's after a while, it's because I think it gets painted as like this sort of like, lock yourself in a room and grind until and I think it's honestly can be damaging in some ways, and hell for sure. But trying to change that then to where, like this morning, for example, the first meeting that I had, set a call yesterday, no show, which is a super common thing in sales, right? Like people
yeah.
not showing up to meetings. So I just kind of, took a little picture of myself on the meeting, posted it in the community. Like anybody else that has a no show today, throw the picture in here below, and just trying to, make it a little bit more fun, or create some sort of, sense of community around the
Oh,
struggle,
for
because
sure.
it
And we
sucks,
all feel that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you block off hours of your day and then you're just sitting there staring at a blank screen and nobody showed up for you.
Yep.
It's that sort of stuff. So
Yeah. And then I'm sure you got a ton of messages from that.
oh yeah. Yeah, it's great. It's great to be able to, I don't know what it is, but something about it's like it makes it more of a team sport, right? Where it doesn't have to be all you, like
Yeah.
because I mean I've never, I didn't start with a partner at all, and I've had people along the way that have helped me, but it's just yeah, it can be really hard, but I think that's what makes it worth it at the end of the day.
No, because at the end of the day, if you don't wake up and do it, it's not running.
Nothing's happening.
There's nothing's happening from a
Yeah.
sales standpoint, anyways.
Yeah, and I think that's the coolest part too, like, having at least gotten us maybe some stages of growth and seeing traction is like, I guess eventually, like we're talking about SOPs and maybe making more systems, there can be a day where you wake up and maybe you don't do anything and it continues to run. It's like you can kind of create this thing with a business where it's such an asset that they can run without you, and that's something that I'm nowhere near, but it's like the kind of the distant vision there of being able to build something like that.
What's the biggest difference in your business from now till since we met and did the podcast in August?
I would just say, I would honestly just say reps. Like it's literally just reps. Like I've been on probably close to 1,000 sales calls now. I've talked to so many different people, and I've kind of, at least for what I do in terms of what people their problems, I understand pain points a lot better. I understand how to deliver it a lot better.
Yep.
And I think now I'm consistently realizing more and more the importance of relationships, right? And making sure that these people, like even in sales, I think at the very beginning I was following this script, and like I'm like I have it like behind the screen, like reading off this thing, and it's like It's so I'm trying to realize it's so much more of a conversation and relationship to where you get to genuinely deliver something to somebody that gives them value, helps their life, helps their
That's
business,
exactly it.
and
Yep.
being able to call people that I've been working with for 5 or 6 months now, and you're asking about how you're doing outside of work and all this other stuff. It's just that sort of shift has been made, I would say, between like you know scrapping, just trying to make money at the beginning, to like, what can I would say the long-term vision now of just building a cool business and something that I get to actually genuinely help a lot of people, not just I need to make some money to pay bills here.
So as a reminder for people that haven't listened to the first episode and we're this far in, what is your business and what do you do?
Yeah, so my business it's called Amistad Digital. I work with businesses across the country now, but mainly kind of starting here in Michigan. In terms of the I would say the vast majority of customers that I work with, clients, are in Michigan.
Hmm.
But we help local businesses essentially just automate processes, show up to more people, gather feedback from their clients, whether that's Google review collection, lead capture automation, basically just saving time and making more money.
And this is the stuff that, like, as a business owner, you started a business because you were passionate about HVAC or you knew
Yeah,
HVAC or whatever business it is that you're in, you're good at that
right.
stuff. And you're not really thinking about the client management stuff or getting
Oh my
Google
gosh,
reviews
yeah.
and how many people get stuck on getting Google reviews.
Yeah, no, it's been great. And that's the thing that, especially within the first couple weeks, that I'm always going for is I want to get that message out of nowhere that's like, I can't believe this. This works so well. I was not expecting this, because especially with the online stuff, people have been screwed over so many
Yeah,
times, and
yep,
I understand that.
yep.
I've said that anytime I'm on a call with people and they talk about it, it's like, I understand. You've been screwed over. It happens all the time. So especially having that face to face conversation across the screen, and trying to convince some person that you can actually help them is an extremely difficult thing to do. So that's always what I'm going for, as soon as possible from when I start working with somebody, is when can we give them like the first kind of, value moment, the first wow factor.
So how have you grown and engaged your clients or, that's the word that I guess people understand,
Uh,
but made them more sticky. How have you served them at a different level?
yeah, a couple things. So number one being, and that'll be tomorrow, but the first Wednesday of every month, um, I have something called a client communication day. So nothing for me, nothing else matters that day except for checking in on every single person that I am lucky enough to have a relationship with, whether that's, calling them, giving them an update on something, shooting them a text or an email, whatever it is, like just letting them know that, hey, that, you're not just paying me every month, like things are happening, making sure that there's just some sort of relationship there. And then,
Mm.
from that inevitably comes referrals or things, there are other problems people want solved. And so it's also been a huge, you know, day for being able to generate more business that way. And then I've started kind of my own sort of, we're on a podcast right now. I've kind of started my own sort of like, hey, when they hit this first milestone, or once we've been working together for a while, get them on a call, highlight their business, talk about their journey in entrepreneurship, because that's the thing that I'm interested most, is just I love hearing these stories of how people got into it,
Yeah.
and being able to highlight their business and make them feel special.
That's super cool. And I remember we talked about that, being able to add that value of here's some content in a way
Right.
to put you on a platform. So that's cool how
Yeah.
that's coming to
Yeah,
fruition.
yeah, absolutely. Because I think, a lot of these business owners don't get, the credit that they deserve all the
Yep.
time. And, maybe I think everybody has the experience, dealing with the difficult clients and that sort of stuff. So just like, a solid 30 minutes to an hour of, you matter, you're on the stage, let's talk about you, and, talk about your journey, what your business is, kind of what problems you're facing. It's honestly so fun too. Like, I mean, we're having this conversation and it's great. And to be able to give that to somebody else has been awesome.
That's so cool. Well, so the people that we're working with are they need to put their brand out there. They need to like build and create content. And so to
Yeah.
be able to give them something where they can go do that. How many of your people have you had on that have never been on a podcast before?
Every single one of
Every
them,
single one of
which
them.
is,
Yes.
yeah, it's probably only like 5 people now, but I
Yeah.
remember it's so funny. There's this, and it's still editing it, but there's a guy, Jim Jones, down in, He's actually down in Lancaster, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
he has a landscape edging business. So they do like the edges on, whether that's like driveways or just any tree shrub areas. Just I mean, he could go into detail, but when we first started talking at the beginning, he was like obsessed about this service, like this one specific service within landscaping. And I remember him, he told me, he was like, I'm the Michael Jordan of landscape edging. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, this guy has this thing that he's so passionate about. He absolutely loves it. Nobody else has to understand, like we were talking about. So I was like, I just want to have him on and have him talk about his business. And so for an hour, he got to just tell me every single thing there is to know about landscape edging, and just it's awesome.
And
It's
he's
just
all lit up. He's passionate about it.
so passionate about it, and it just builds trust too. Like,
Yeah.
just being able to have the relationship. I mean, even like after our first podcast, just being able to come to you with somebody that I truly trust, book time with, to be able to kind of go over problems in my own business, and have the person that, like, they actually care about you and they want to help you out. It's not just a transaction, is super cool.
I say that all the time. It's taking the transaction out of the interaction.
Right.
The transaction is the byproduct of like when you're doing the right things.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just so much more natural that way too, of like, let's not worry about, I mean, obviously, both people's time, there's going to be work done, but it's more so the relationship of, you have this thing that you need help with. I'm going to help you with it. And being able to trust each other is awesome. Like, I just had a call with a woman that, she wants to get going, but she needed to meet in person first. She just wants to meet in person, get a coffee, talk more. And I'm just, more than happy to do that, because I get to connect with her on an even deeper level that way.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think it's a great start to a relationship, and especially a world that's becoming more and more digital.
Well, and then you're in an age bracket where most people are communicating from just a digital standpoint. And so it's got to be, even if it's subconscious for people, like really refreshing.
Oh, yeah, it's great. I mean, Andrew, the first time, like, you just gave him a shout out.
Yeah.
Andrew Black's awesome. The first time that we met was at Zingerman's in Ann Arbor, the cafe, and we ended up not even talking about, we talked about business, but not the service that I wanted to provide for him. It was just like,
and you cold called him, right?
I did cold
That's
call
so
him, yeah.
awesome. I love that.
Which is cool, because that's the only reason that we're talking.
So I love how that happens. Do the cold calls. They work. Yeah.
They do. But yeah, that's the first time that we met, and we ended up, we had like a 30-minute meeting plan where I was going to present this stuff to him, and we just sat there for an hour and a half and talked about, entrepreneurship and his journey, and from there I've been able to grow an awesome relationship with him. But we've gotten breakfast together, and all this other sort of stuff where it's so much more than just the transaction, kind of like you're talking about.
It absolutely is. And he's such an awesome guy, but he is like, I hate to say this when we're talking about taking the transaction to the interaction, but he's the gift that keeps on giving, because he makes those connections. And it's not even just a transactional standpoint. Like, he connected us, immediately. Literally just a few minutes ago, right before you got here, there was another guy, Ben Higgins, who he's a mobile mechanic who Andrew connected me with, and he's in my boot camp. And yesterday he was talking about making content, and somebody was like, somebody in the group was like, you should make those time-lapse videos. He was like, when I hired you to come in my driveway and you were repairing my car, I was looking and I was watching you, and I was like, man, he should get a camera that does time-lapse and like make the video, because it'd be really cool to watch. Like, all the parts come off, all the parts come on, like that'd be really cool. And so they were talking about, he was like, what kind of camera do I get? And I'll have to do some research. And I was like, hey, I have somebody that gave me a GoPro. Like, they knew I was into this kind of stuff. They didn't have any use for it. It's a newer GoPro. They never really used it. I've never touched it. I don't have any use of it. It's just going to sit in my office desk.
Right.
You can have it.
So cool.
And so he came by, he just left, and that was another Andrew Black connection, and it's just like one of those things. It's not about the transaction. It's about those relationships. And
right. No, that's one of the things. I mean, I think Andrew honestly changed my whole like worldview in some ways on that sort of stuff of like, I was almost emotional after we met, of like, here's this guy who I literally just cold called a couple days ago, and all of a sudden, we have this conversation, and he's connecting me with you and Steven and other people, where it's just like, that is so awesome. Like, so beyond, and you just don't find that with the vast majority of people, just to have this person that's just so like just wants to do good and connect people and give them opportunity. And for me, it's been huge. Coming on your podcast the first time was because of Andrew, who connect us. In terms of being able to come to your boot camp, sit in on it, meet other people through there that I've now worked with, and just all these sort of networks and things that seemingly come out of nowhere. But
Seemingly
again,
come out of nowhere.
yeah,
It is so cool because there's so many cool moments where I'll find out somebody is connected to somebody. Like you
right,
have that where you're working with somebody so closely, and then you find out they're like good friends with somebody else that's in your.
absolutely,
The world is so tightly connected.
absolutely.
And I'm gonna throw out to you and say we did the podcast because of you. Like we were sitting here, we were just doing a trust builder, and I was like,
Mhm.
man, you need to be on the podcast. You got some time,
Yeah,
and
it was so cool. It's such a cool experience, and to be able to just grow these relationships and talk more with both you guys. And it's just, I mean, like, we just got coffee last week and talked more about life and everything else. But it's just like that's the whole point of this, right? It's just it's so much more than, it's kind of what everything that getting into business has brought me is just more than I could ask for. And it's within, I mean, I'm not, it's less than a year since I got my first client. And it's like, so I can't even consider myself in business a year yet. And it's just been, I feel like I've lived a lifetime of,
yeah.
of being able to work with people and develop these awesome relationships. It's just been so cool.
Well, and I'll say that you've done more work in this year, less than a year, than most people do in their year or 2 years or even maybe 5 years of work, so of business. And so you're speeding along. And that's again, I was so excited. I'm like, dude, the difference you've made from those from that half a year, less than a year is tremendous. But it's like the results of putting in the work and then being you, because there are several people that can just pick up the phone and make calls, but it doesn't making a difference. Like you have a heart, and the way I'll phrase this is like one of the big things you were talking about the other day is like you're like that my big fear. You're like my big fear that I'm going to
Hmm.
wake up and all my customers are going to be gone.
Hmm.
And I'm like, the fact that you have that fear and you're sitting and thinking about how can I improve these relationships, you're never going to have that problem.
Right. Yeah. No, and I think it's like a blessing and a curse. It's a, yeah, I think definitely learning how to deal with that is good, but kind of like you're saying, it's the same reason, like, I never feel like I'm doing enough, and I feel like, kind of like we talked about the other day, I'm literally having like trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, because I'm just waking up thinking about like potential and things, where I could be, or what could I be doing to improve and all this other stuff, which is like, I think that's part of the reason, though, that, it's nice to hear it from you, that you say, that's not, it won't happen because of that, even though, the worry is there and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I would much rather live with that than like feel like everything was 100% fine all the time and I don't have to do anything else, or, I'm good. Like, I don't think I'll ever feel like that no matter what.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that's what I'm saying, and that's it's so cool because when you have that worry, then that's what you're focusing on. You're continuing to figure out how can I take better care of my clients, and that's
right.
even as you're growing and expanding your company.
Right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And just like tomorrow, being able to go back across everybody and think
Yeah.
about what can be improved, think about, maybe there are other things that I could help add on, or just constantly trying to learn from the people that I'm already working with, and just check in on them more, and just again, developing a relationship.
I remember in our first conversation, and then we had this conversation a couple other times after that. Is like I said, I'm sure as you continue going, you're going to see other areas that you can solve people's problems.
Hmm.
Have you seen that, and what have you done with it?
Yeah, in terms of like the business side of thing,
Yeah,
and
your
more so.
clients as you're working with them, because you were doing specifically Google
Yep.
reviews.
Yeah.
If I don't
Yeah,
think I'm
yeah,
right,
no,
that was just
100%.
what you were doing.
Yep, review automation, review collection, and since then, I mean, I would say as a direct result of being able to meet with you again and kind of have you walk me through everything and talk about, what's going on and kind of where I want to be. Just these other areas started to open up, of like, I consistently hear that people have, this other problem of maybe they're not showing up to people, or there are other things that can be done along with the initial service that, you charge more for, obviously, because you're, delivering value, and you're putting more work in, but at the same time, it's something that they want. And it was, partly being able to accept that and be like, it's okay to, provide more services or to charge more, charge what you're worth. But also it's made much more sticky relationships and people that, you're able to kind of help them across the board with these things. Whereas like at the beginning, maybe it was just the one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so much easier to leave when you're just doing one
Yeah,
thing or rationalize, but when you're helping them in several areas, how do they replace you kind of thing?
absolutely. And that's the coolest thing though, because it is the, I know that if you give me a chance, like, and it's so much easier too to like if you come to somebody, and I think that's part of the reason, maybe like super high ticket marketing agencies, if you don't have a name, it's hard to come in and charge somebody, $2,000-3,000 a month or whatever. It's like get in, be able to solve this one problem for somebody, get them to trust you. And like yesterday, I'm on a call with a business down in Ann Arbor that they didn't trust me at all. Right, they'd been screwed over by multiple companies. I was like, let's do a free trial. I won't even charge you. I just want to show you what I can do. And within, 2 weeks, now we're talking about other services that can be provided for them. And just being able to actually do the thing that you say you're going to do is just so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, no, that it's the simplest of things, but it's so cool. And I know that even just from this content standpoint, we talked about
Right.
that is like, I'm doing this thing and I was doing it for my clients and they were getting results. I'm getting results. Like, and
Yep.
then Kevin became my client and we're getting massive results. And so
Right.
like, I have this theory of like, oh, I think this can work out for most people, and,
Yeah.
but then to see it and like, see, it's just the little things that are so exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just I'm just trying to constantly get better at doing exactly like what we're talking about of listening to your clients and improving the things that they need improved and just being able to, not just be the faceless business that doesn't really care about you. Like I genuinely care about you. I want you to succeed. If you succeed, then I succeed, and let's work together here.
Yes, and there's so much noise. You talked about it, and I talk about it a lot too. There's so much noise in marketing. There's so
Oh
many
my God.
marketing companies
Yeah.
out there, and I think even as I was getting into this marketing and the content piece, it's like another marketing company,
Yeah.
right? And but the thing is there's such a low barrier for people that are doing good work or
Yeah.
really getting to understand your business. So many people that'll set you up on the reoccurring plan
Yep.
and not do anything.
Right.
And I don't know, I think this is probably after you were on, but Kevin, my partner here, we had somebody working and putting together our website
Hmm.
in for the studio. And the guy that was working on it was also doing Kevin's social media
Okay.
and like posting on his social media for all of his businesses.
Hmm.
And as we were sitting, I kept asking this guy questions and was working with him. And like the guy was like kind of like being squirrely and then he was getting confrontational. Long story short is Kevin started like researching and looking into his accounts. This business, this is a collision shop, and
Yep.
it had slowed down. He was like, "Man, I don't know what's going on with my marketing, or I don't know what's going on. It's just like
Right.
slow." They brought the trailer parts store in here and that kind of thing to add in more revenue,
Yep.
and then he started looking at his stuff, and this guy hadn't posted anything on him, like wasn't doing his stuff, wasn't keeping his SEO up to date, hadn't been logged into some of his accounts
It's
in a while, and
crazy.
was charging him a lot of money every month. And
It's
not only
crazy.
that, but he grew up with this guy. Like he's like been friends
Oh,
with him since he was young, and like and if you're gonna do that from a marketing standpoint with somebody that how many marketing companies are out there that are just putting you on you know,
yeah.
collecting the money and not doing
Right.
anything?
And then you have to talk to 5 support agents before you can get to anybody. It's like I think that's part of the reason why, I feel like it's been so awesome to start, and try to maintain a hyper local attitude to this stuff of like I'm not sitting in a skyscraper in LA, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm meeting with you in person, or I'm right down the road. We're cheering for the same sports team. Like I'm not going to screw you over. Like just anything trust wise. But that's the problem, is that there are people doing exactly what you're talking about. Like there
Yep.
are people that won't, essentially just set you up and disappear, and they don't really, it's like on to the next kind of thing of like I don't actually care how your business does. I just want, more revenues.
That's it.
That's just going to come back to bite you, right? And that's one thing that I, every single time I hear that, of somebody saying that, they've been screwed over, they don't trust somebody, the first thing I always say is I just try to emphasize the amount of touch points that there will be. Like I mean, verbatim, just say, since I've started this, I've never wanted to become the person that you pay and you don't realize why you're paying. Like, that's never who I want to be. Then there's no reason for a relationship at that point. Um, so yeah, just trying to flip the script on that, but it's extremely hard.
No, it's hard because they've been burnt. It's like
Yeah.
dating someone that's been in a bad relationship. You got to constantly overcome that, you know, and like prove that no, you're not the same,
Right.
and that can be hard to do, and that's why sometimes it takes a while to build that trust in that relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know I mean, I see ads all the time for fully AI marketing agencies and this sort of
Oof,
stuff.
yeah,
And it's super interesting too, in terms of like the technology that's coming out. But I was even, just reading some reviews of these businesses that are just like, there is nobody to talk to. It's crazy. Like, not being something about that relationship, I feel like it's just so foundational to everything that,
yeah.
when that's lacking, it's really hard.
AI is a phenomenal tool. I use it in so many different
Yep,
ways in
me
my
too.
business. However, because we use it so much, we know how valuable it is
Yeah.
and how much work I've got to actually put into the back end. And I hate even telling people that I use AI to some point because they think it's like, oh, you just pushed a button and did the
Right.
lazy thing.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that just do the lazy thing, and you can tell them when they post, they got the double hyphens in there,
Yep.
they got it's word for word, they got the
Yeah, the
same
longevity.
emojis, like
Right.
and it's very very noticeable. If you put something on autopilot on AI, I would be scared at what would come up like on
Oh
a
yeah.
consistent basis. There's no way that it's going to really confidently relay your brand
Yeah, it's tough, and there's, oh man, I don't even. I mean, there's just so much coming
without
out.
anybody overseeing it.
Right. There's so much that's coming out on a daily basis too, in terms of what these companies are coming out with, and um, I mean, it's just the human touch. I think is just so important. I can't remember the CEO. I think it's OpenAI was talking about how, like, he was, in an interview with somebody talking about like the difference between a human learning and machine learning, and he's like, well, AI takes so much less time and it takes so much less resources. Like, we don't have to feed it and all this other stuff. I'm like, what is? It's like getting to a crazy level of just the lack of human connection and tools that are coming out to
To
where
defeat it.
yeah, just we have to spend less energy training this AI model. It's like just the lack of care for human connection is ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. But because at the end of the day, we're doing business with people.
Right.
In that action out of the interaction and stuff like that, I call this difference maker boot camp because the ways that it doesn't take much to be different than the
Yeah.
average. And it's all these ways and what you're describing and the level that you care for your clients and
Hmm.
having those interactions and really getting to know them. You can't replace that with AI.
No, you can't. You can't. Yeah, I mean, just any conversational aspect to it, like we're talking about with the community and different strategies, and that is just the connection of being able to feel the other human emotion and really understand people and interact. You just can't replace it.
Well, and that's such a great example of even just that. And you're talking about the school community and how powerful that is in a time where AI is so big. If we didn't desire human connection, then why are these communities blowing up? Why is
Yeah.
school becoming so big? And school's not the only one. There's so many platforms or,
Yep.
and you talked about how you're doing this thing, you're creating these videos, and
Hmm.
then all of a sudden people are asking you, hey, is there another level? Can we have a
Yeah.
one-on-one conversation? Is there, you know?
Absolutely, and it's a whole different thing, right? Like, we're talking about being able to create a relationship with somebody face to face, and then kind of escalating it from there and doing other things together. It's the same way, like, with technology being an awesome tool, right? Like, we can, you can put out a video, somebody watches your content, they trust you, and then they come through and kind of see what you can do, and they almost get to know you without even
Yeah.
talking to you.
Yep.
And it's like they have that relationship with you already, to where it just really lowers the barrier. So on that side of things, it's so important and such a tool, technology wise, to be able to use it, but then actually having the connection on the other side of it. Of one of the things that, with the school platform, that attracts people is the human connection. Like, you get to be connected to this person that you've watched their content, or you feel like you already know.
Yeah. No, it's huge. It's so I don't know if I shared this with you, but it's like one of the moments where I realized, oh, this content is really working.
Hmm.
Like what I thought would happen is really happening. And I
Yeah.
had somebody that was following me on LinkedIn and she was liking or commenting on all my videos.
Yeah.
And so I shot her a message and was like, hey, I just want to say I appreciate you, and you're always showing up and adding comments, and I really appreciate what you're doing. I'd love to get a chance to have a conversation with you. Here's a link. Let's connect.
Yep.
And we got on and we're connected. And I jumped on. I'm like, hey, what's up? And she was like, oh my God, you're real.
Yeah.
And it was like looking down and I was not ready for that. I was like, yeah, what'd you think? And she's like, she's like, you have to understand. She's like, I've been watching your videos. Like a lot of people will watch their favorite actors on Netflix.
Yes.
And that's where we're at with these tools, what we can do with social media and these platforms. And she's watching me when I'm sleeping or working or whatever, And she was like, and so now you're in front of me. And like, as embarrassing as that just was, I just blurted out like, oh my God,
like
I'm actually talking to you.
Right.
It's like a celebrity moment. There was one time in Ann Arbor, there was a networking event at a brewery in Ann Arbor, and I was talking to a group, and there was this guy that walked by, and all of a sudden he paused. And he just is staring at me. And he kept on popping up in my people I might know on Facebook. Right. And so I was like, is it Bill? And he's like, you know my name? And I was like, yeah. He was like, you're Jason Tracy, right? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, dude, I thought that you were somebody out in California or something. I thought that I didn't know you were local. And I was like, yeah, man. Like, so cool. And then you popped in my people I might know and my friends, like, but it's that level of stuff. It's not a point from like putting myself on that pedestal, but that's the point is like in business and in sales, as well as I know, it's like we're not human in the eyes of our prospects.
Oh, no.
We're the object they got to get around.
Yeah.
Because they're afraid if they talk to us, then we're going to deprive them of their money and their time or both, And so we're like let's get around and like the stepping on the bomb, you know? And so when we can create and foster that relationship through the content, where they get to know, like, and trust you before even having a conversation with you, that is so powerful.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. I remember, like I said, up until a month ago, just completely, making these videos, no barrier to entry on anything. Just check it out, see my journey so far, ask questions, get on this call, and just the first time that I had, maybe, paywalled anything in terms of like, there's this stuff that like is almost like secret to kind of what I do and the things that I are really using every day to grow that, it makes sense to be able to pay for. I remember the first time that somebody did without me, I didn't like get on a sales call with them. I didn't have to call them. They just bought this thing. It was like, wow. That is a completely different world. And I know we do it all, all the time with different products and stuff like that, but yeah,
but when you're used to grinding and picking up the phone and having to go through the whole, I'd like cry. I'd sit there and cry.
I almost did. I can't believe this. I had to go for a walk because I couldn't believe it. And then to be able to then get on a call with that guy and then see him getting his first couple clients and stuff, it's just so awesome. It's so awesome to be able to deliver the value, but also just realize something that I haven't, I'm so interested to talk to you more about in terms of the power of content and what that can do and everything else.
It is really powerful. And I was talking about like Kevin stuff and like, he came to me because one of his friends was on my podcast and she literally the title of the episode, her name is Mary Vance. She's a badass, but the title of the episode is Wake the Fuck Up. And so he was like listening to it. And he's like, wow, Mary's raw. You didn't curb her or tell her like calm down or anything else. You let her be her. He was like, I'm kind of raw. People don't always get me. And he was like, but he's been in this industry for 30 years and he started off as a mechanic making $11 an hour in the shop. And then he just put himself to use. He saw that the shop that he was working for didn't know how to manage their money and they were underselling jobs and they were losing money, going bankrupt, that kind of thing. And so he stepped up and made himself a very valuable asset that ended up being able to earn partnership. And then through the years, ended up buying out the companies and has had a lot of success. But he's like, I want to help other business owners. They start off because they're great mechanics and they think I'm going to go be the great business owner. And there's a big gap between what you need to know as a great mechanic and a great business owner.
Yeah.
And you don't realize now I got to do the marketing. Now I got to do it all.
Yeah. It's extremely hard. And that's like, the last time we talked when I was just 100% doing everything, at least, some sections of where I've gotten a VA now and he helps me out with a lot of stuff on the back end. Just even being able to remove some of the work has just helped so much with just energy and focus, right? Like being able to focus more on the things that maybe continue to drive it forward. It's very hard, and that is one of, again, going back to just the very beginning and thinking back to that of like, you're doing everything by yourself. Like it's all you've got to handle the sales, fulfillment, onboarding, retention, dealing with when people do leave, or it's just so much stuff at once, and it's extremely hard.
Yeah, you could not sleep.
Yeah, I haven't
You
many
could work
days.
all day.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, and yeah. So just constantly thinking about it. Even now, it feels like there are some things that are handled to where I don't have to worry about them as much, and it's just can almost feel like a literal just weight lifted off the shoulders of like, okay, this is handled. And even that for me, for the first time, having done it by myself completely for months and months and months, handing something off to somebody else was very hard for me to do. And just trust that they could get it done, and
Yeah.
being able to finally allow myself to do that, though, is also another unlock of like being able to just kind of take myself out of some of the processes.
Can you talk about that for a second? Because I think there's so many entrepreneurs as they're growing and scaling their business that they get stuck in this piece for a couple of reasons. One, to pass it off and have
Mm-hmm.
the peace and knowing that it's getting done and it's getting done right. That's a process. And then two, people will really get stuck of like, at what point can I afford to bring somebody on?
Yeah.
Or that nervousness of like, oh, how do I now go make the money to go pay this person?
Yeah, so at least for me, I think it was in terms of and I was just talking to a guy yesterday that was asking the question of like, when do I hire my first person, or, at least get, with what we do, a virtual assistant to help with maybe setup or onboarding. And I think for me, it was, I mean, just at the point where it was like, I'm working 10 hours a day and then waking up at 4 in the morning to try and finish something before a 9 a.m. meeting. It's just like there's at some point it's like I'm really damaging my ability to continue growing by having to worry about everything. So it was more so out of necessity of I'm willing to give up profit maybe when I wasn't even making as much, to where like if I can just have some hours back or some time back to focus on other stuff, it's worth it.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, no, that's huge. And it's like if you can be in your superpower and doing the things that can help you grow your business, how much is that worth?
Yeah, and I'm trying to think about it more and more in terms of just time allocation and where it's going, and um, things that matter more. And I think that's also been a hard part too of like, cut some people out of my life that I didn't feel like were adding to my ability to keep growing. I think as a result of growing the business and realizing just the input output of like how valuable your time is. And if
Yeah.
I'm calling this person all the time and they don't seem to be adding, or feeling good at the end of it, then that's a waste of time that could be put on something else. And just making those little changes, big changes.
That's so tough, and good for you for realizing it that quickly, because it can be really tough of like, that it's almost like a shame tactic of like, you've changed. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I have. And it's just sad that you didn't.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was being back in town, I saw, my roommate from college that I hadn't seen in 2 years, and it was like I just looked at him, I was like, whoa, I feel like it's just been the last like couple years of just starting this, or last year, it just feels like so much has happened, so much
Yeah.
has changed, of
Yeah.
where I'm not the same person that I was when I first started this, and in the best way possible, right? I
Yep.
think it just puts you through this, I don't even know, like odyssey or whatever you would call it, of like just having to show up every single day and solve different problems and just get, I can't remember what the quote was, but it was like, I heard it somewhere. It was like, business is basically waking up every day and getting kicked in the nuts over and over and over again. And then you have one day where you feel like things are going well, and then it's just back to getting kicked in the nuts. And that's what it feels like. I mean, that is 100% what it feels like. There's never a time where everything is 100% good. Everything is solved. It's like there's always something that could be done better or solved or continue to be improved upon.
Yep. And I think that's the driver in you too. That you're a driven person, and like we can really be hard on ourselves. Like,
Yeah.
but that's what makes us great. That's what makes you. What's going to make you great, and the level of service you give continue to be great.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to continuing to grow and just honestly showing up every day and figuring out the thing. I think it's been the I would say probably the hardest year of my life in terms of just, going from I can't remember when we were on the networking event, the one guy had given the presentation. I can't remember if it was Mike or somebody
Mike
that,
Noonan.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. When
Yep.
he's showing the pictures of where he had first started to
Yep.
now this, massive office and stuff like that.
That
It's
was a
like,
great one to be on.
so cool. It was
Yeah.
so cool to hear that. And I look at it as like, I look at it as is the Gladiator movie of like he starts out as this, in these small arenas and kind of gradually moves up to where he's in the Coliseum, and that's where I want to be. I want to be, at the point where just continue to grow and get better every day. And you get to compete in bigger arenas and learn more and meet cooler, people that have done the things that you want to do, and just be able to sit in front of you is an awesome honor. So.
Well, I really appreciate that. We talked about the book The Alchemist because you said
Yeah.
something, and what you just said reminded me of it when oh, you said so, like what you've learned now you could never go back.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so cool when we go on these journeys and this growth of, this was the biggest learning experiment I've ever had in my life. There's a lot of stuff that I've learned and,
Yeah.
a lot of stuff I've been throughout my life, but these 8 years have been the biggest growth period. And there's a lot of uncomfortability, but there's a lot of really awesome stuff too. But that growth, I could never go backwards. I could never have a job, one.
Right.
Like, and I say it all the time on this podcast, like I burn the bridges. Like nobody'd ever want to hire me. I'd be the worst employee ever. Like I'd be thinking all day about going out and doing my own thing, like it just would be bad. But that growth period, like you could take that, if this business didn't work out, you can turn that and shift it and do something. You could
100%.
go back and do something different.
Yeah, I'll figure it out regardless of what it is now. That's the thing is I think that's, if anything, just come out with out of the last year of like I'm not gonna give up. I don't care what it is, what happens, how bad it gets or how good it is. Like I'm never gonna quit. And I don't think you can lose if you just refuse to stop.
5,000%, especially when you combine all the other attributes that you have. You have a heart, you do care, you do want to serve, like you're charismatic, you have a great personality, you're not giving up, you're hitting the phones, like those, you're doing the hard things. And so those are just the things I see off the gate that I would say make you a difference maker and make you stand out and are going to continue to make you successful.
I appreciate it. Yeah. And yeah, it's just cool to see, and like, it's like you and other people that are doing the thing. And it just always brings me back to, like, we talked about the real world and what is that? What is that? I mean, it's so possible, especially with business and having your own business, to create that. And
what is it? Yeah.
Create what your own world is. And like I'm thinking about potentially moving to Austin, Texas. And I just happened to start working with a guy whose son lives down there, and he's like, I'll hook you guys up for lunch and you can just write the whole thing off as a business expense and go down there and see him. And it's like, that's just the sort of stuff where I would have never done that before. And, listening to somebody telling me what reality is, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, no kidding. When people are telling you, no, this is the way it really is.
This is it. It's all downhill from here. Yeah, I
had a client that called me up a few months ago, and she was looking for an employee, and I connected her with somebody that I knew that I thought would be perfect for her. She was in my boot camp, this lady, and I was like, she was like a part-time admin, and I was like, she'd be perfect for you. They ended up connecting her. And my client called me up, and she was like, hey, she was like, I just had lunch with my friends, and I'm really disturbed, and I need to get this out of my head, so I needed to call you. She was like, I was telling people about how you've made connections to me. Like, you just, will call me up and connect me with these people, and you connect me with this lady, and they told me that, like, you were doing it from selfish reasons, that you were getting kickbacks, and that's the only reason you're doing it. People don't just help people. They're only doing it because they're getting kickbacks. And she's like, I got into an argument with my friend, and I told her there's no way. And then she's like, but as I'm driving home, I'm sitting here and thinking, like, maybe he is. And if he is, oh well, but like, I just want to know. And I'm like, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. I'm like, I'm just, it's one of those things. Like Andrew, or like this, when I can see that I can help somebody or bridge a gap or make a connection, it's, I go back to dominating space.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you can make a connection to somebody, and like then that enriches their life. Yeah, I'm doing it for all the reasons because like I just out of the goodness of my heart. But then out of the background is like, man, you're gonna think about me all the time.
Absolutely.
You know, those little areas where you can really kind of enrich people's lives, and then you become more important in their life.
Absolutely. It's so huge. And even like, just kind of back to what, that's their reality, right? Like
It's the reality,
that's what they believe.
and that's like there's so many people that think like that.
100%. And I think one of the coolest videos that I've ever watched, I think it was like Steve Jobs was giving a commencement speech or something and talking about how, I think what I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was along the lines of one of the biggest realizations that you can have is you realizing that everything around you was made up by people that are no smarter than you,
Yes.
and that you can create
Oh, I
your
give me
reality.
shivers. Yes.
You can create the life that you want. And just like we were talking about last week, I was in a super vulnerable state after I graduated, no idea what I was going to do, moved back home, and I was just trying to get in some different jobs, just start making money. And I was working at this wellness clinic, and this guy asked me about college and how it was, and I was talking about how fun it was, and he was like, well, that's great because that was the best 4 years of your life, and it's gonna suck from here on out. And he was dead serious. Like, it's funny now to look back at it, but he was dead serious at that time, like not joking at all. And I just remember even then just sitting there like, that's not gonna be it, right? It's not gonna be it. I'm gonna to go create the life that I want, and be connected with people that don't think like that, because there are so many people that they're living the life that they want and
Yep.
have done the thing that they didn't have that attitude, right?
Yes. My mission in life is to like there are so many people that want more. They
Yeah,
know there's more, and sometimes they're just surrounded by all the people that are creating their reality for that. They're allowing people to create their reality for them with their own limitations and their
absolutely.
own ceilings, right? My mission is to help those people close that gap. We talked about hell is meeting the person that you could have been. Let's
Yes.
close that gap. What is the difference in between here and here? It's all fear.
Yep.
It's all fear and limiting beliefs.
Yep.
If you're around that all the time and you're
It's
not
definitely.
careful, that becomes your internal programming. Whether you want to believe it or not, there's those little things inside you that think, "Oh, I couldn't do that."
Oh
And so
yeah.
it's really hard to break out of those gates.
It is, and I used to think I was like invincible to that. Of like, no, I think the way I think it's different, but it's just when you're around that sort of energy, it just drags you down. And
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what it is, or the biology of that, but it is 100% true. And even like how we've talked about the initial sales job that I had that I thought was kind of scummy and I didn't love. One thing that changed my mindset was every day walking into a room of people like the sales team, and the first thing that they would do is have everybody state their short-term and long-term goals of like, what do you want to accomplish, right? What are you going to get to? And for a lot of
Yeah.
people, even just in sales, it's I just want to take care of my kid or whatever else. And that was so cool for me to be, even though I didn't love the job, finally be surrounded by a group of people that are forward thinking, setting goals, achieving
Yes.
goals, and that's the kind of thing that drives you, and it is so powerful. And back to the community thing of like, that's why that stuff is so powerful to be surrounded by the positive energy and the positive thinkers, because I can't do it. I can't be around the people that are dragging you down. Everything sucks. The world is, sky is gonna fall and all this sort of stuff, and
Yep.
it's like poisoning.
I used to think from a standpoint of the job that I had in being in leadership that I was like, I'd beat myself up because I felt like I must be a poor leader because there's these people that are always at the bottom.
Hmm.
And I get tired of by people at the bottom that are like the victim mindset and always making
Yeah.
excuses. I'll work with you and work with you, but like I got burnt by leading the horse to water and
Right.
seeing that the horse is so damn thirsty that I'm like, drink the water, and then I'm like holding their head under, and now I've got this horse carcass because I've drowned the horse, right?
Right.
And so like I would just and I talked about this with you. I'm like, I love people that stay in front of me. We've had our
Hmm.
conversations and like you've continued to text me and update me
Yep.
or like come back and connect. Or like last week, you're like, I'm going to be in town for coffee. And
Yep.
so I love that. Like the people that are like, we have a conversation and then they just kind of disappear. Like
Oh yeah.
I'm not chasing people down,
No.
and I want to see like, if you're excited, we'll keep
Yeah.
moving and going. But like from a leadership standpoint, I'm like, man, I'm just like, I don't have any energy dealing with these people. I'd just rather fire them, or they rather let them like go off and like just kind of die out,
Right.
and like, but these other people, these top 20% people, man, these are the people that light me up. These are the people, these
Absolutely.
are why I come to my job every day. Now, the cool
Absolutely.
thing about my business is I can tell really quickly the people that are the low end people, and I don't have to take them as clients, or
Right.
I can fire them as clients. I get to work with the people that are those top 20% of people that light me up all the time.
Really going for something, right?
Versus the job, I had to work with everybody.
Yeah.
With this, I get to choose who I get to work with.
Yeah, and even like with Andrew in that initial conversation of just his vision for what he wants to do is just
Yeah.
it's just so addicting to be around that mindset of like these people that it's this is not like the whole real world conversation. It's like those are the people that are thinking the way of you can create your reality. You're going to do that thing that maybe people don't believe. And that's what, even right now I'm like I need to get clear on my goals from this point on, and I want something that scares me again out in the
Mm-hmm.
future of like being able to see that next mountain of like what you want to get to and have it scare you because that's what's exciting to wake up every day and chase that thing and
Yep.
being around people that are doing the same thing. I remember even last year and first starting out, it's like I'd rather be alone and not talk to anybody than talk to people that are bringing me down or don't believe in me. And then,
Yep.
even going back to technology, like having access to your podcast, which I've listened to all the time, having access to podcasts of all these guys that, I look up to and that are living the life that you want and chasing those things. It's like you can almost surround yourself, even just
Yeah.
like podcasts, videos, like you can kind of feel like you're in that mindset and surrounded by those people. And then, being able to reach back out to you and get on or another guy that I watch that has this, it's a, expensive in person, like 2 or 3 day kind of thing where you go out but it's like, those are the things that I'm like, I want to be around. I want to meet more business owners that are really going for it and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. So it's just like constantly seeking that, those groups of people.
And I love it because you say there's so many resources now. You can literally surround yourself and be that rolling university. You can always
Yeah.
have a podcast or always, you can access so many people.
Right.
And then outside of that, you talk about like the school communities and stuff like that, where you can actually have a human connection with these people.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's been so cool because, like the first, video that I put out on YouTube it was like 20 minutes long about me just talking about, hey, here's where I started, here's where I'm at now, and here's where I want to go. And part of that was talking about the whole Central America thing. And from that, I've had 3 or 4 guys message me of like, hey, I would love to, if you'd want to go back down there again, I would love to go with you. And now we have like this little group going that's thinking about taking a trip down there, all renting a place for like a month and just all working on our own businesses. And like that's the
Oh,
sort of stuff
that's
that's so
fun.
cool. And it all came
Yeah.
from going the other way, being willing to be vulnerable and put it out there, and then just it's just the connections that have come from that are incredible.
And it's all how we perceive our experiences as
Yeah.
well. I had a client a few months ago that she's in her 60s now, and she had always had this dream of buying an RV and traveling the country. So she sold her house, bought an RV, traveled the country, had these amazing experiences, had a lot of downfalls, had a lot of breakdowns. Like didn't realize how hard it is to
Yeah.
repair an RV as a
Right.
single 60-year-old female out on
Yep.
the road. But she got to travel. She was gone for a long time. She hung out with her sister in California. She did all these amazing things. And she was sitting in my office and she was talking about how she like ruined her life.
Yeah.
And she's like having all these regrets. Now, mind you, she coaches women to live a life beyond their wildest
Right.
imaginations. Like, do you think that what you did fits in with your client base at all? Do
Yeah.
you think your client base is like, wow, I would love to, I wish I would do
Yeah.
that. And so now you're an inspiration. You've done something that like would scare the crap out of them
Yeah.
and you survived it,
Yep.
and you're looking back and like, if you wouldn't have done that thing, what would you be thinking about right now?
Doing the thing. Like without a doubt. I mean, that's what I thought about. I have a voice memo on my phone where I was driving to work and I was like, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do my own thing. And it's so cool to be able to, even now with all the problems and the things that need to be solved, is like just to look back on that and realize I was just willing to take this step, and it's changed everything. So
And now you get to do this.
yeah.
You've built something that you get to do.
Yeah, I get to wake up and work on it,
You get to wake up and stress and
yeah, be terrified
if you
every
went to
day.
sleep at night.
Yeah, no, but
No.
it's like, and sometimes, I think everybody deals with imposter syndrome and stuff, and feeling like, why me? Why could I help other people and stuff? But like, last week, I mean, like we talked about it, getting a message from a father that is married, and he has a full-time job, 401k, and he messaged me and he was like, should I quit my job? And I'm like, I'm 23, man. I mean, I don't know. I haven't dealt with all these other things, but it was just from seeing, like, being, following my journey and seeing like what I've been through, being able to resonate with that, and obviously, the amount of trust and just vulnerability to even be able to ask me something like that, and that's the only thing. It's like I can't answer that question, but I just said the same thing that we're talking about. It's like, what would your 80-year-old self think? Like if
It's a
you
killer question.
That's just what I wake up and think about every day. Like if you're looking back on your life, what did you do? Did you go for it? What happened? And it's a kind of a, this Alex Hormozy guy sometimes has kind of morbid perspectives on things, but he's like, if you go all in and you don't quit and you make it, and that's great. And if you don't make it and you die on the road basically, then you'll be dead and you won't care. It's like, so in some ways it's like a morbid perspective, but at the same
It's so
time,
true though.
yeah, it's like, what kind of life would I rather live? Something that I always thought about it, or hey, maybe I never even got where I wanted to go, but I never gave up.
They say the number one fear is speaking in public, like public
Yeah.
speaking. It's the number one fear over death.
Yeah.
Like if you get up there and you die, what does it
Right.
matter?
Right.
What does it matter if anybody laughed at you? You died. Like it's not like, so you think we put that public shame, sometimes we weight it over like dying.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very hard, and it was very hard initially, especially I remember when I first started even putting stuff out there of like, here's what I'm going through. We were talking about it then, and it's like, how am I supposed to put, like, who's gonna see this? Who's gonna care about it? And I think the more and more that I have and gotten comfortable with it, it's like, I don't care what anybody else thinks. Like, everybody's living their own life. Most people are unhappy. They don't enjoy what they're doing,
Yep.
and they just criticize other people, and those aren't the people that I want to be around anyway. So it doesn't matter. Like
Yep.
the people that I get to impact by doing that are the ones that are sending me the messages that are really going for it, right? That are taking the steps to get where they want to be. Like I just had another example. He was like, I just quit. He didn't even, talk. He hadn't even talked to me. He just sent me a message like, "Hey, I saw your YouTube video, and I just want to let you know I quit my job and I have 6 months to make progress." And I was like, it's just like such a powerful thing to see, and just see people that are not accepting maybe what somebody else told them that they have to do,
Yep.
or the way that they need to live, but like, hey, I'm gonna go create my reality here.
It's so cool because again, most people don't get them,
Yeah,
and to go out there and just do it.
yeah, and just keep going and figure it out along the way. And yeah, it's been an awesome journey so far, and been able to connect with you, and hear more about your journey, and you guys killing it, and it's just awesome. So I appreciate you having me.
Ah, my pleasure. Again, I was excited when you reached out last week. It's really crazy, and I love this is like the law of attraction. I was saying this in my boot camp yesterday, and this sounds really funny, but I will, even without making cold calls, I'll make a list of people that I want to talk to,
Yep.
that I'm going to call, and usually about half of those people will follow up with me before they'll call me that day.
Right.
And it wasn't like they were thinking like they were supposed to.
Yeah, no, I fully believe in it, and and this is something I've talked about too, and it might sound crazy to some people, but every single day, every single morning, I sit in the morning and think about three things that I want to accomplish, but I don't just think about them. Like I'm imagining myself already having accomplished the thing, and
Yep.
that is, I mean,
Visualization is so powerful.
yeah, and some people don't believe in it, but again, it's something that has definitely helped me, and even in the hardest days, like having that moment where you kind of have like that chemical reaction in your body of like feeling like you're there. In terms of the law of attraction, I feel like it all plays into it of just willing yourself to get to the place that you want to go, and then pairing that with actually doing the work, and kind of just the power of those two things. I don't think you can be stopped.
You can't be stopped. And then, you know, and I love it. People, this woo woo or whatever, people that
Right.
you do not believe in it or whatever, but you can also go not believe in gravity and go walk off your roof. You're gonna fall. You're gonna hit the ground pretty hard.
Right.
So I mean, you can not believe in that too, because it's like, it sounds woo woo, but it's true. So it, man. It's like tuning forks, and we talk about like energy, for example, and like tuning forks. If you hit a tuning fork and then there's another tuning fork that's on that same vibration, it will from across the room start vibrating.
Crazy.
And so like if we're all made up of energy. And I was telling people in boot camp yesterday, there's been, going back to being a kid, I remember thinking about somebody and then they would appear.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm magic or anything else. It's just one of those things. One, my mind is thinking about them for a reason.
Right.
And two, like, and this is another thing. Often when I I said this because I was talking about, like, you reached out to me and like I literally was I was cleaning up cover art and stuff out of my computer, and I had just deleted the graphic from our podcast. I was like deleting a bunch of them, and I was like, I haven't heard from Hayden in a long time. I wonder how he's doing. And then literally you texted me and said you're going to be in town. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. But I don't even like freak out anymore. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But then I'm like, when I tell people, I was just thinking about you. I'm like, I'm sure most people think I'm full of shit, but I literally was. Like, I literally was. But it happens all the time, and I'm like, oh my God, I was just thinking about you.
So cool. No, and I think I mean, for me too, it's just, consistently, that's the first thing I thought about, right? Like coming into town, who do I want to surround myself with? It's unconscious. I don't even have to think about it. It's like, I'm going to go text Jason because this is an awesome person that I connect with that, has that same sort of growth mindset. And it's just, trying to just make sure that those are the people that I want to be with, and that's who I'm going to spend time with. So.
Well, I am honored to be on your list and be one of the first people you think of. I was like, how long are you going to be in town? Like, do you want to do a podcast? And you're like, hell yeah.
Let's do
so,
it.
all right. So we made it happen. So, man, Hayden, thank you so much for thinking of me, making the connection, making the call, and then spending some time here with me in the studio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.